Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody.
What's up, guys?
Welcome to the 91st Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. These numbers blow my mind every time I say them. I'm Milan Starcic with co-hosts Andrew Norman and Bryant W. Today's topic is forgiveness. Can you share what this topic means to you, Andrew, and why you're happy to discuss this topic here today?
Milan, I would love to. I'd love to, man. We're getting up there in the numbers. Bryant, great to meet you. Great to meet you.
You too, my friend.
We've been a lot on this podcast, and we've never been on here together. This is pretty special. So I'm surprised we haven't done it yet. We haven't done it yet. We'll let Milan forgive us later for that. But yeah, man, forgiveness is huge, man. You know, forgiveness is everything. It's a conscious decision to release anger, resentment, and desire for vengeance or punishment towards someone who's wronged you. You know, technically, if you want to get technical with it. It involves, gosh, man, there's a lot that goes into forgiveness, man, because we can do it in a healthy way. We can do it in an unhealthy way. And as an addict, man, I usually tend to gravitate towards that unhealthy way of doing things. And not so much anymore, man. As I've gotten a little clean time under my belt, you know, I can forgive people and know why I'm forgiving them. You know, I'm not just forgiving them just to say it. You know, am I doing this action to get a response, or am I doing it out of straight compassion and love? But yeah, you know, having forgiveness, you can't forget. You know, it's a process. You can't forget those actions that somebody did, right? You got to process them, and it's about how we get to that forgiveness. And are we really forgiving, right? Because we can say we forgive somebody and hold a resentment and not tell anybody, man, and that shit is heavy. It'll get heavy. It gets heavy to carry around. So forgiveness, God, there's a lot that goes into that. You know, we make an amends here in this program, and there's a lot of forgiving ourselves too that we have to do. You know, forgiveness of ourselves, because we've been taking it hard on ourselves for a long time. So I'll pass it to you. We'll open it up with the questions and stuff. But forgiveness is super important. If you want to get anywhere in this program, you got to be able to forgive. And it's not about forgetting really, but you got to forgive. And there's a healthy way to do that. I think we'll get into a lot of those ways as we roll it around, Bryant.
Ice, would you like to come in and tell us what that forgiveness means to you?
Yes, I'm happy to be here, and very nice to meet you as well, Andrew. This was a critical piece of my ability to actually move forward. I have been told by many people I'm too hard on myself, and a gentleman I know very well from recovery once said to me, if anybody spoke the way I speak to myself, I would never talk to them again. And I think it's a common thing for us to, you know, take a lot of our discomfort out on ourselves. And I really like what Andrew said. The amends process was a really, really beautiful way for myself to, I felt like it was like a genuine attempt to like not start from scratch, but like it really was sort of like, okay, I've made peace with everything I possibly can based on the past. And that other piece that he threw in was the self-forgiveness. Like once I became aware of what was actually true about alcoholism, I was able to have a compassion for myself that I previously hadn't, because I knew that I had, like, I almost knew somewhere like intuitively that this was some sort of sickness. Like it was so like all encompassing, and they say cunning, baffling, and powerful. Like it was just tied into so much of my life that I started realizing like there's more to this than me just what's the word? I guess just being some careless, reckless person. Like I could see how limited I was without the knowledge of what I was truly dealing with. So very quickly, that was the part that freed me to be able to have the courage to move forward and forgive myself as well.
Love
Love
that.
that. I just love it. You know what? Have I told you too that I love you guys here today?
You can again. You can do it again.
Okay,
I think
Frankie
that's the first
Forgiveness
time.
would like to say that he loves you too.
Bring it on.
Well,
Love
you
you
can
too,
call me
bro.
You
Francolito
too.
for short. Forgiveness to me, it's an ongoing journey. I did some pretty despicable things, like that. I didn't think were despicable at the time. I thought they were all justified, man. I had my rationalization technique down really good, and it was all wrapped up in delusions, and that were just enabling me to continue the debaucherous existence that I was killing myself with. And one of the things that I find amazing has been people's capacity to forgive me.
Beautiful.
I feel like I've been forgiven some things that I would have struggled to reciprocate that forgiveness on. And I was 20 years old, and I was in university, and I was living with 8 guys. It was me and 7 other guys in the house, like 4 rooms on each floor, and it was mayhem. And I went home one weekend, and I had this brand new Les Paul guitar, and when my roommate's friend fucked around with it when I was gone and scratched it. And I was like, I got so mad at this guy. I like shunned him from my existence for a few months. And, the only one who was hurt by that resentment was me. Like it was eating me up inside. And I remember at the end of that year of university, I was like, fuck this. I'm like, I don't want to carry resentments anymore. And, the only way to really get out of them is to learn how to forgive, though. It really is, and and then, just even inside recovery, like had my, a conflict with someone in my home group, and my sponsors like, pray for him, 2 weeks straight, every single day. And I did that, and like, man, this guy just celebrated a cake, and like, we were exchanging kind words, and he was like having tears of joy, and like, it was awesome. And that wouldn't have happened without forgiveness coming into play. Like
Yeah.
forgiveness is the door to freedom from the past, as far as I'm concerned. Like because without it, you're trapped. Like how much of your emotional moments are tied up if you don't have forgiveness? Like, man, I would think probably over half, because the older you get, the more shit you can carry. Your bag just gets bigger. It's like when people talk about carrying those bags of rocks, well, forgiveness is like helium balloons instead of rocks. And I'm going to leave that there. And I'm going to say, Andrew, you got a question for Mr. BW or Mr. Ice?
I do, Iceman. All right, coming to you, man. So forgiveness obviously is very, very important, but forgiveness is not always the best choice, right? In some situations it might not be appropriate or like the most healthy response. So, particularly in trauma or abuse situations, which a lot of us find ourselves in or coming out of, how do you process that? How do you process whether there's forgiveness to be had or whatever else you do? How do you process that?
That is a mighty question. My natural instinct is to think that like it's something that has to be done in all circumstances to truly um, live happy, joyous, and free. But I definitely see the wisdom in what you're talking about, and I think that's where it's very, very helpful to have mentors, sponsors, or elders, or even friends that you can trust, because in some situations you really do need to be careful. Similar to when we make amends, they say, as long as it doesn't harm us or someone else. Like there was a handful of things where I needed to actually like check in with someone to be like, am I on the right track with this? Because the last thing I want to do is disturb someone else's well-being trying to save my own ass. And man, I'll be honest, like there are people that I've kept in my life that I'm hoping to keep in my life that have harmed me in ways that I previously didn't know how to forgive or was willing to forgive. So there are some pretty profound things that can happen with the right sequence of events to allow mountains to be triumphed. I really believe that. I've had some family dynamics and certain things where I felt like hopeless, to be honest. And it's pretty crazy what some healing in other areas of our life can do to bring awareness that can allow our hearts to open to new opportunities that didn't exist for us before, if that makes any sense. So I move when I'm moved. If I feel like it's the right thing to do after, you know, using the tools, seeing what's benefited me in past circumstances, hearing wisdom and stories from other people, it can give you the confidence, the courage, and or the wisdom to approach someone, or maybe take a different path. I guess my overall hope would be that we could do it in all circumstances. They also say too, you don't have to, like, you can do it within yourself and release that person so they aren't taking up that space in your heart and soul and your mind anymore, without keeping any of them around in your life as well. So there are ways to use this beautiful thing without it being harmful to yourself, I would say. Yeah.
I love that, man. I love that. You really took the beginning of my answer right out of my mouth, man. That was beautiful. All right, Milan, you ready? You want me to ask?
I need the question all over again, because I was lost in BW's antics.
I was too. I became BW, if you will. So forgiveness is not always the best choice, as we know. So in certain situations, it might not be appropriate or the most healthy response. So particularly in like trauma or abuse situations, which a lot of us coming out of active addiction find ourselves in. How do you process that?
So, okay, this makes me think of step 6. Anyone got their book handy? Step 6. Became entirely willing to have these removed, these defects of character removed. Isn't that it?
Yes.
And I do not think that there is a I can forgive you and have nothing to do with you the rest of my life.
Right.
I do not think that there is a circumstance where it is not healthier for you to forgive, even if it's forgive and forget that person. Like it does, to just forgive, and I'm not talking like physical and emotional abuse. If you're holding the resentment for that, you're still the one that's sick. And I know, because I had a really abusive partner before in my life. And that stuck with me for a long time, even though I tried to be like, hey, I wish you no ill will, and tried to have a certain element of forgiveness. It still sat there a while, because I was really fucking hurt and really abused and really confused by it. But, I think you don't have to continue a situation that's obviously super toxic or painful or abusive or, physically abusive, whatever it is, to forgive. And so I don't think, for me, if this question is a big picture way of thinking, then I think that I need to strive for forgiveness in my life more than I need to find some way. It's like this. It's like our defects, right? Resentment is a defect, and a lack of forgiveness is a resentment. Plain and simple. So if we're not entirely ready to have, at least in the future, for it to get removed, even if you can't remove it yourself right now, because I know I can't just be like, forgiveness, oh, look at me go, everything's good with you now. That's just not how I work. I'm just like, okay, get out of my face for a bit, let me breathe, let me work on this, let me pray about you, but don't come up right here, because I'll punch you in the face.
And I'll write a song about it afterwards. Come on.
I'll write a song about it. I'll make an amends in the middle of the song. But I think, honestly, if I think that I would like to say that in my life, I would like to strive to lay my head down the day I die and not have anybody I haven't forgiven.
Right on.
Yeah, man. Amen, bro. Is that your answer? Is that the drop? Was that a drop the mic? Did you just drop the mic on me?
I was like, didn't you hear it bounce off the floor?
Did you just not like you just did it like took a drink and like walked off, man? We're sitting here alone, Iceman. Iceman are sitting here alone right now. All right, cool. So the answer to my question, obviously, forgiveness is not always the best answer. And so, damn, I felt disrespected there. I forgive you though. I forgive you.
See, and look at how much better you feel,
bro. We've been on a podcast before where he's like disrespected one of his sponsees or somebody else, and then he turns right around within 45 minutes. He's not even listening to our podcast that we're in. He's like, Coulter, I need to apologize for something. I think I might have upset you. Just interrupted it was so funny, man. It was so amazing. I was
so worried about it. Like, is he gonna sleep tonight?
That's so funny. But it was beautiful. It was beautiful, man. It's a man working a program. So yeah, as we know, forgiveness is not always the best, most healthy way to go. And as you started talking, Bryant, the amends that we hit on is crazy. You got the amends and sponsorship, right? I feel like those are like almost like tricks. Like we get tricked into doing those things. It's like they change the terms. They call them an amends, and it really means forgiveness, right? It's like your forgiveness process. It's like sponsorship. They call it sponsorship. I thought when I came in here, like first couple of times I heard about sponsorship, I thought it was a money grab. I'm like, yes, I want to be a sponsor. I want to be a sponsorship. I want to be in. I thought they were going to pay my way through addiction or in recovery, right? And and it's not sponsorship. It's not anything like that. And it's almost like your new father or mother figure, but they call it sponsorship, right? It's somebody who's really going to hold your hand and help you through. And it's really just through the steps and traditions, hopefully. But some people get a running partner, man. Some people really get somebody who's there for anything. I've got I got a couple of sponsees now. I'm there I would do anything for them guys, man. Because I know just like my sponsor would do for me. So it's a really special thing. But if they were to call it like a new mentor or something like clinical, technical,
step
like that,
shower. I'm a step shower.
Bro, I'd be like, fuck that. I would be like, the hell with that. I'm not getting in with that, man. Like I've been going against that grain for my whole life. Why am I gonna get clean and think that that's a good idea now? So I think it's almost like a little bit of a trick, but like it's a subtle trick because once you get in it, you can't unlearn this shit, man. You could when you start doing this work, you start feeling better naturally, and you start tasting food for what it really tastes like, and you start seeing the colors or what they really look like you can't undo that. So it's like you're making your own hell at that point because you start doing a little work. I don't care how much work you do a lot, a little, you can't undo that. You can't unsee that. And so we got a lot of people that go back out, relapse is part of some people's story, whatever, that whole thing. But as long as you come back, man, you can't unlearn that stuff. So you go back out, you start using drugs again, you're going to be you were already miserable, but now you're going to be really miserable, right? Because like my sponsor will tell me, I'd much rather be sitting in a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, like thinking about using drugs than sitting in a trap house or a dope house, like thinking about being in a meeting or in a podcast like this, right? Like it's a big difference. So, we can guilt our way right out of this thing, man. And, we're going to complicate our way out before we even get in here anyways, as an addict, because, it's not for me. But bro, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people going through the exact same stuff you're going through every single day. And there's people doing it clean. So forgiveness is not always the best. I got to use the tools that I've given in this program, that were, we call them suggestions. Some people call them subtle commands. The only suggestions we pay for are the ones we don't take.
Call them get them done.
Get her done.
Get them done now.
So it's almost like, you know what I mean? And I go to meetings, man. When I first got out of there, man, and I didn't know, I was either going to go back to drugs or my God, or my understanding, who I choose to call God, like took me to meetings. And I sat in meetings and I watched forgiveness happen in real time. I mean, I watched these meetings, if you go to these meetings, this is your real time radio / fake it till you make it. Like, look at how this is happening and incorporate this into your life, or go back to the old way of what you're doing. You know, to choice, it's your house. Right. So I came in and I started seeing feelings and feeling things and going through things with people. And it was uncomfortable at first, but it got me ready to have my new career and be open for opportunities that are coming my way. Right. And be able to tackle some of those things that I never thought I could do clean, you know, on drugs, let alone clean or even be clean. I didn't think I could be clean. I thought I was going to be drugged until I was out of here, man. You know, so you got to recognize those blessings, man, because they hit a lot different when we realize what they came from. So I come in here and I stay humble and teachable and being in these rooms, man. I used to sleep in these meetings, man. I used to go to the 24-hour meeting when I was real early on in this thing, and I was real wanged out, right? I would sleep in them 24-hour meetings for weeks at a time, just having it in my subconscious, because my brain is not my friend, bro. Like, half of my brain is consistently selling the best bullshit in town. The other side's consistently buying that shit. And it's tough when I'm selling it in my own voice. So yeah, it's recognizing that and having that firewall of recovery today is where the real hit comes in for me, man. You know, we can, you know, any addict can stop using, you know, lose the desire to use and then find a new way to live, man. Sign me up. Sign me up, dude. I don't have to have $1 in my pocket. I don't have to have a quarter in my pocket, man. I can go anywhere in the world and feel at home. Home is not a place, it's a feeling. Where I feel at home when I get into these meetings. I wake up and I'm feeling a little anxious, man. I no longer reach for drugs, and I get that same feeling, but I'm in need of fellowship. I'm in need of those readings. I'm in need of something getting outside of my head, because I'm already starting to attack myself as soon as I get up. So pass that to you.
Nice one. BW, you got a question for me? Or Mr. Ice?
Yeah.
Ice, baby.
You should hear his hip hop too. He does a good job.
That's true.
And I got good moves. Look, we got it all. I got the moves.
He's got the
Come
move.
on, we got this, man. We got a whole crew.
Okay.
I love you guys.
The question is, I think we've already touched this, but when we do the 4 and the 5, you become aware of your part in things. Usually there's been some sort of sequence of events that has led to what they call demoralization or willingness due to what's it called? When desperation. So you have an awareness, but when you actually look at it, find the root cause and the fears behind it, you realize how much you need forgiveness. So did needing forgiveness, was it helpful or did it aid in your forgiving of others?
I would say it absolutely has. You know, the amends process, though, is like a sticky little devil. Because it's like, you know, it was like, amends goes good. Amends goes good. Woo! Not like I literally was given, like, you know, a premeditated resentment about myself inside the amends process, because I created an expectation that after the first few, I was like, they're all gonna go like that. That's gonna be great. I'm gonna be like Mr. Pink Cloud amends man, and it was like, whoo! You know, like when you get squared and you're nuts, and when you don't expect it, and you're like, I think I'm gonna puke for a little bit. And that's what it felt like. So, you know, what it made me realize is that, first of all, everybody's deserving of it. Everybody is deserving of it, even if only just to turn a page in life. Like, I truly don't think you can go back in time. You know, like, think of moments where it was like the glory days with you and a group of friends, and then some shit happened, and the band broke up and was never the same again. You know, I remember a moment of that in my teenage years where it was like the best freaking summer happening ever, and everybody's getting along, and then somebody cheated on somebody, and somebody fought with somebody, and then it was like never the same for the rest of high school. But it's kind of like life is like that. Like, forgiveness doesn't mean you get to rewind and undo that shit, you know? Like if you
Mhm.
were, if you were someone who was lying, you know, even if they forgive you, it doesn't mean that you're ever going to have that kind of trust again. Like you may or may not, depending on how well you prove yourself. So,
Right.
like because I don't resent you for something doesn't mean I'm not aware of your defects.
Sure.
Yeah, and likewise for people about me. Like, I mean, I struggle with the same shit I've always struggled with, and I am trying to improve on them all. You know,
Mhm.
but it's like I didn't come into recovery and all of a sudden have a propensity for five different things than I used to do. You
Right.
know, like I remember one point when I was working on my second set of steps, and my sponsor said, he said, he's like, your three biggest resentments, your three biggest defects are like 95% of your problem. I was like, oh,
I love that.
yeah, like
Love that.
because man, if you look at it, it's like you can have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I mean, I literally remember at one point looking at the list of character defects. I'm like, I got them all. I'm like, I won. I'm like, I could check all the boxes, but I really wasn't that much. Like procrastination wasn't ruining my fucking health, okay, or my life, compared to like lying or whatever. So it has definitely helped me try harder to forgive people. I don't want that sickness in me because I truly feel things like cancer and that are born out of resentments and lack of forgiveness.
Mm.
Like it just eats a
That
fucking hole in you. It's like, think of this. Like, if you think of like, the go towards the white light or, like a dark light and a bundle of like when you're angry. It's like taking anger and making a diamond out of it and it turns into cancer. Like, whereas,
that
just letting that shit go, you can let your whole being glow.
surrender it.
Surrender that shit, man.
Surrender it. Look up. There's an undercurrent. Surrender. Love it, man.
I
Love
don't
it.
know
I didn't
how
mean to
we
cut
came
you off.
back to that.
Well, I do. I do. I don't try to explain it anymore, man. That shit is. I'm Captain Surrender these days,
Okay.
man. So, all right, Iceman. I'll take the question one more time because I'm absent-minded.
Coming right at you. Yeah, so I was saying, becoming aware of sort of your own defects and where you've fallen short and your limitations, understanding sort of within yourself how much you needed forgiveness. Was it helpful in the process of letting go of those resentments and forgiving others?
Not only helpful was it, I mean, it was monumental,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's really monumental because a lot of this stuff we talk about, whether it's self-love, self-care, whatever it is, or we talk about love in general, trying to love somebody else. It all starts with self-love, self-appreciation, self-acceptance, right? And that's part of self-forgiveness is right in there. It's right in there, man. I I've got this process where as we work these steps. I'll say this sometimes, Bryant, like the step work don't mean shit. I don't mean that like literally, it does, but it's the spiritual principles that we gain as a result of working these steps. That means everything,
Right.
right? If you work the steps, you do the steps and you don't, at the end of that step, you don't know what spiritual principles are involved with that step, you need to go back and do it again. If your sponsor doesn't make you do that, then maybe you need to look at a different sponsor. And this is my personal opinion, right? If you want to make it long term in this thing, from what I've seen, and
No,
y'all
I,
can,
I, I totally understand. Yeah.
so you got that, and what I've done is I've tried to take these really, really important spiritual principles, like forgiveness, and I put steps to it, right? Because I've been tricked into doing step work in general, and it works. So now that I got my head wrapped around that system works, this step process works, I put step work to like each one of these spiritual principles, right? So kind of where I'm at with it on the forgiveness piece is like the first step to forgiveness for me would be like acknowledging my feelings. That's the first thing. I got to acknowledge my feelings.
Mhm.
I got to identify and validate the anger, resentment, hurt, whatever it is that I'm experiencing, where it's coming from. Then I gotta like back up, practice empathy. That's step two. Step two is kind of practicing empathy on that part. Try to understand whether it's me offending myself or somebody else that has offended me. Step 3 is make a conscious decision to forgive whatever that piece is, right? It involves choosing to release the negative emotions that are attached towards it for me. Step 4 of that would be to cultivate compassion, right? I got to cultivate some compassion and understanding around that situation, even if I haven't been apologized to, right? Because this is my process. It's about me. This one's about me. And then the 5th step of that, and the last step, would be to release any harmful emotions in a healthy way, right? I'm not going to go out and hurt somebody releasing those emotions. I'm going to do it in a healthy way, because I've been doing it in a healthy way leading into this thing. I'm going to do it in a step process way, like I've been doing everything else, because it works. I got to lean into what works. I'm not going to try all these new things. This is a simple program, from what I'm told. Yeah. Super simple program made for super complicated ass individuals. So I got to really just dumb it down. Everything that I go, ooh, that's needed. Forgiveness being one, self-forgiveness, other people, whatever it is, because I don't want to build resentments. I don't want to have all this shit going on, because I don't know how to handle it. I'm gonna put some step work to it, or some kind of process that every time it comes to my table, that I can unload it in a healthy way, so I don't have to worry about it on the back end and put it on my step 4, whatever. I don't have to make a new amends process for whatever I did. I'm trying to accept the processes as it is, or whatever the situation is as it comes, like as if I willed it that way, and then act. Man, I'm not gonna act like an asshole and then expect to accept it and reel back from there. That's kind of my process. But it allows me to reduce stress and anxiety that way, because I'm not worrying about how I'm getting to that final outcome. I know I'm going to put some step work, or at least my own step process to whatever that situation is. So I hope that made sense.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Cool,
Mr. Ice, could you icily answer your own question? Like, at least give us a cool response.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was kind of interesting. I had a lot of shame as I began the process. Some very cool things happen, and I'm sure we all have our own moments of alertness or open-mindedness, discovery of facts that can free us and kind of show us truths about ourselves. When I admitted what I had been up to, like, the first thought that came to my mind was like, I have no right to judge anyone. Like, no right to judge anyone. And like that has come and gone. I've definitely had moments where I still do these things, but that's what came through. I was like, if I'm going to be forgiven, if I can be set free, if I can get rid of this bondage to self, if I can move forward, if I can like start a new relationship with myself, other people in life, I have to grant this same opportunity to everyone else. Like, oh, there's some gnarly stuff. If you look, you'll find some wild stuff that they're facts of the matter. In fact, before we got on here, just to like kind of wake up my mind, I watched a TED's talk, and this gal did a TED talk, and she had lost her mom and brother to someone in their neighborhood that murdered her family. Like, and she was talking about the process she went through to come to the realization that like healing is a process, but letting that person go and no longer allowing them to affect her mental well-being and her emotional well-being was a choice. And I'll also throw in here, like, I was hurting myself more than anyone else was hurting me. Like, I on a daily basis was destroying myself mentally, emotionally, and physically. Quite literally, like knowing like I didn't have a solution, so I wasn't able to choose. But I was choosing daily to harm myself. Not everyone in my life that I thought was harmful or that owed me an apology came after me on a daily basis to fuck up my life, part of my language. But I did that to myself every day. So if I have to forgive myself, I have to be able to forgive. You know what I mean? It's so bizarre. It's like it's similar to like the respect thing. It's like if I'm respecting myself, chances are I'll get a higher level of respect from other people. And then when they choose to be disrespectful, it won't matter as much because I respect myself. You know, whereas before I didn't respect myself. I blamed myself for everything. And so I allowed other people to easily show me that I wasn't respected and blame myself or let them blame me. And it was just this gnarly thing
It
because
was me.
yeah, I was living in a state of lack and feeling, terribly about my existence. I don't know why I'm laughing. But yeah, so
because you're an addict, man. Because you're an addict. That's beautiful, man. That's, you don't have to explain it. That's what we do, man. That's what we do. Love it, man.
That was sort of how it went for me. I recognized
I don't know why I'm laughing,
but I am. That's dope.
Yeah. I knew how badly I needed to be forgiven, and it was a lot easier when I was honest about my part in things to start forgiving other people.
Comes with that good step 4, that nice thorough step 4, man. Realizes all your part and everything, man. There's not gonna be a bunch of forgivenesses, right? That line of forgivenesses.
Right. Okie dokie. Well, that was awesome and humorous.
That was awesome.
And so forgiveness is an action, and I'm going to ask you, Andrew. Sorry, forgiveness is an action and a decision. We need a lot of forgiveness, and we also get to provide it. Forgiving is its own reward. We start to find peace within ourselves. When we are free of guilt, shame, and resentment, our minds can be still. Here's the question. How has the lack of forgiveness kept the water of your mind from being clear in your perceptions and your actions?
Wow, that's a great question. You flipped it up on me, man. You flipped it up. I was ready to answer the other side of that question. You went on the other side. It's a beautiful question. Love it. So like when I was caught up in that spot where I didn't know what forgiveness was and what it really had to offer my life, because really everything I was doing and all the decisions I was making was based on me not wanting to feel like I was going to die. That was it. Addiction is the fear of pain, I've heard, close quote. I didn't want to feel like I was going to die. I literally felt like I was going to die if I didn't have my drugs. Most of us did. And so when I was able to realize what forgiveness really was, right? Man, I had so much stress and anxiety over not forgiving myself and other people, right? It has a way of building up stress and anxiety, and stress will kill you faster than a bullet will, Bryant. Stress will kill your ass just as fast as a bullet will. And so that helped out with that. Once I was able to get over that hump, I was able to reduce stress and anxiety tenfold, and everything that I did, right? Because every situation that came at me, I was able to process it in a way where, do I need to forgive myself or somebody else? You do step work, you start realizing that shit, right? So my mood got better once I was able to realize that. My mood and my optimism, man, I was more of an optimistic person. I didn't have any optimism in active addiction. I just was gonna run till the wheels fell off. I didn't have an avenue to get out of it, and I wasn't going to treatment. They had to throw me in that bitch, man. So I was going in there fighting. My physical health was shit. Right, my physical health now is better for forgiving. I'm talking about mental and physical health is all tied. Physical, spiritual, all that shit is tied together, man. So if I'm mentally not there or whatever, it's going to affect my physical health too. So being able to forgive, being more mentally free allows me to be more physically healthy as well. And better relationships with other people. I used to not be able to maintain healthy relationships. Now I'm able to, because I can forgive, not necessarily forget, but I can forget where I need to, but I can cultivate better relationships long-term and healthy relationships, because forgiveness can help repair damaged relationships, can't they? If you can forgive somebody in a healthy way, right? Like Milan did in real time on that one podcast, like it can help a relationship, and foster trust in a relationship, right? Because if somebody comes right at you and then somebody surprises you by how they forgive you already, and you don't even think you maybe did something wrong yet, you're going to be like, wow, that showed me something. And you might trust that person more, and it might make you act a little bit differently next time you come into that situation. And lastly, personal growth was a nothing before being able to forgive, because I would just, I'm resenting everything, and it's really not it's all based on drugs and transactional relationships. I don't have those anymore. I don't have them anymore. Everything that I did was transactional. I stay away from that shit today, man. So yeah, I can grow personally, interpersonal growth tenfold now that I can forgive. So it's a beautiful thing, beautiful question. Thank you for asking me my line.
Nice.
That's down to you. Nice, man.
Okay, Mr. BW, ready? Question El Rapido. Okay,
Yeah.
Forgiveness is an action and a decision. We need a lot of forgiveness, and we get to provide it. Forgiving is its own reward. We start to find peace within ourselves. When we're free of guilt, shame, and resentment, our minds can be still. How has the lack of forgiveness kept the water of your mind from being clear in your perceptions and your actions?
Yes. So that is so amazing, because I believe that one of the greatest gifts that we receive through the amends process is the relief of bondage to self, which is the mind's capacity to hold you captive to things that have happened in the past. The other thing too is we often we let that thing come through us through our version of what happened, right? So sometimes we don't understand the motive, what was going on in that other person's life. Like, we don't know exactly the details that created that situation. But if we are offended, we hold a grudge. And I'll be honest. So people harming me took up a lot of space, but my mistakes took up a whole lot of space. So self-forgiveness, critical. Um, I shared, I think I shared one amend. It was one of my smallest but most powerful ones. It was $100 thing for a bachelor party I went to when I was like 20 something years old. And I reached out to this buddy of mine's older brother. I said, it came to my awareness that I owe you $100 from like 5 years ago. I got that done. Never thought about it again. He thought it was this really interesting. He said, I didn't even know. Great to hear from you. I hope you're doing well. No biggie. But that had taken up, like, I was like, I don't know if I see this guy again, or like, am I that big of a, I'm just going to use the word like loser, that I didn't contribute this amount of money. Like, I was just like, that was such a great day, and I didn't even pitch on it. Like, what's wrong with me? And like, I did it and never thought about it again, except for to reference it in a good way now. It's like, it was so cool. It was like, it's gone, vanished. Like the past really doesn't have its talons the way it did on me before. Like, I was carrying around stuff from when I was 5 years old, literally. And so, I don't know, like you talked about the murkiness of the water. That's what I think the greatest gift is. So that inability to forgive, like, I'll tell you right now, I got something on my plate right now that to me is so unbelievably disrespectful. Like the craziest thing I could have ever imagined coming down on me for reasons that I'm still trying to sort out. And I can tell you right now, it may take a while, but you can bet your ass I'm going to forgive this person. Like, I will. I'm trying. And
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah. And I was so grateful when I was invited to this topic. It was like, it would have been a lot easier to just be like, I don't know if I'm like, don't take it the wrong way. I love this shit. But like, maybe I wasn't prepared and whatever. And I was like, I need to come talk about forgiveness, because new things are going to come down. My whole thing is for real too, as we get older and people we love are getting older. Like, I'm not leaving my mom's or dad's or anyone else I know's home with some resentment or bitterness, because if I don't see them again and the last thing I do or say is something that I'll regret, like, I do not need that on my chest. I would rather dig a hole to someplace, like, I really, really want to be aware of, like, how finite some of these experiences are, and try to get it right. But yeah, a lot less mental attacks. My mind does not have the same ammo it used to have when it came for me, like, I can kind of see it now, and I'm like, I don't think that anymore.
I love that.
Not gonna trick me this time, motherfucker.
Yeah, seriously though.
That's cool, man. I'll be praying for you, bro. I'll be saying to pray for you, man. One of the most, I'll be praying for you for sure, man.
Thank you.
Love you, man.
You got to
too,
make
brother.
it cool and crystalline prayers for ice.
That's right. Always.
Okay,
Always,
so
I got you.
how has the lack of forgiveness kept the water of my mind from being clear in my perceptions and my actions? So this one kind of, I liked the quote that I got out of the book for the start of the question, because it relates to that four pebbles meditation that I was talking about from
Oh yeah.
going to that Dharma yoga a few months ago. And it's like, if the water of your mind is unclear, you don't perceive the world accurately, but it also doesn't let you respond to it accurately, because how you're responding is turbid as well. And so, it's talking about forgiveness here, but one of the examples was anxiety and anger as well. And so for me it really hit home, because it was something that I was personally struggling with at the time that I saw this this one way of describing it, and I love it. And like, if I look back, like thinking back to that example in university that I already said, it was like for
Yeah.
6 months, for 6 months, I couldn't see that person as a friend who made a mistake. I
Right.
couldn't, and then what did it do? It isolated me from all these events because I wanted nothing to do with him. Like it really, so then it distorted my response to what could have been some of the greatest times of the eight of us having together, because I didn't like, I had pulled myself out of that. And so now, now I'm really trying not to be carrying things like this long term. Like it comes also back to like my 94-year-old client, Rosa Metzler, and her "nobody thinks they're the villain" comment to me. Like, and this was like, Nazi death camp tattooed number on her arm. And she could turn around and say, nobody thinks they're the villain, and nobody does. Like, we are all just fumbling along with a fucking no instruction book life that we're trying to figure out, and are we making mistakes? Yes. And Andrew was talking about it earlier when he was talking, like, like, oh, they mislabeled this, saying amends versus calling it for forgiveness or something. And
Sure.
what I do like is that they did call it amends, because amends means you're changing how you're going to act. Like, I can forgive you for being a jerk, but you making amends about being a jerk means you're going to try not to be a jerk. Like, and there's a difference. Like, I can accept the faults of people, but I'm probably not going to want to continue interacting with them if they're not going to course correct, and it's going to be a hurt Milan, hurt Milan, hurt Milan, hurt Milan. Like, if it's like,
Sure.
if it's hurt Milan, Milan says something and the person pledges to try to change that action, that's a whole nother avenue of future potential. And even if they stumble, like, watch me stumble every fucking week, man. Like, I talk about it,
Sure.
like I talk about my weaknesses all the time, because I'm learning, and um and I'm okay with still trying even when I'm failing, because that's the only way I'm going to learn.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think though that I haven't said I love you two enough today. So I'm just saying it one more time. I love you. And I
Love you
believe
back.
it's Andrew's question time.
All right. So I had an original question for this, but I have just kind of a different one that I think is going to be better. That's going to open it up. So
Okay.
so listen to this. So forgiveness is the sweetest revenge.
Ooh.
Think about that. What does that mean to you, Iceman?
I like this one a
I
lot.
just came up with that one.
I'm like, you just dropped bacon in a bowl of water.
Bam! I knew it. I took my whole shit.
Well, two things come to mind. Is the other way of putting it out there is like the best revenge is living a good life or something like this. And then the other thing that came to mind immediately was I know what it's like to like stop living my life or moving forward in my life waiting for someone else to come and like make right what was made wrong. I know what it's like to like, you know, lose sleep and like all these different things when you're kind of waiting for like some process to unfold where someone finally wakes up and realizes how valuable you are to them, and like how they, you know, all this like stopping making plans, maybe even saying no to things because you're so hurt because of something someone else did. So that's what came through. It's like, if forgiveness is you moving forward in your own life, and like I heard somebody else say this and I came to this recognition as well, we don't often get the healing from the place that we got the pain. Like if someone comes and asks for forgiveness, that's like amazing. If you're lucky enough for someone to be humble enough to do the thing that we've been told we have to do in order to avoid succumbing to this like guaranteed dead end street with addiction and alcoholism, man, like we did it because we had to. A lot of people don't have that need because they don't have this gnarly disease that's going to take their life if they don't ask for forgiveness, revisit the past, and make things right. That's why I kind of like this. That's why when addicts and alcoholics say, I'm actually grateful to have this, because they realize, they know instinctively back before they even knew that this thing had them, that they probably would have been self-centered and arrogant and all these other things that we can be without addiction, which a lot of people are without addiction. So we get to take a look at these things and make adjustments and some progress in these areas of life that every human being struggles with, and we become a higher quality of person. And it seems to me that they say we become more useful to others is the main byproduct of writing these things. And that's hard or easy to forget, that like the main thing here is to become more useful to other people. And so back to the beginning, it's like, if I don't forgive, I'm probably going to not live my life as well as I could have, or miss out on opportunities while I wait for someone else to make right what I perceive they did wrong.
Love that. That's dope. I like that. You ready for me to ask again? Milan?
Yeah, I think it is you, right?
Right?
Well, yeah.
Was that such a dope question that we forgot what we were doing?
I totally got lost in his answer there. Yeah.
I did too. I was like, oh, God?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Hey, so look.
Okay. I need it again.
We know that. We know
I not only need the question, I need to know what day it is and where we are.
Iceman, what's going on right now? Where are we? Forgiveness is the sweetest revenge. What do you think about that?
My gosh. Like, first of all, what instantly came to my mind when you said that was, if you let an asshole make you an asshole, they win.
Yes.
Like that saying right there for me.
I remember when you said that.
Like it's just like boom. And so if you are disarming whatever it is they've done with love and forgiveness, whoo, that's like you just dropped the entire PA system, not just the mic. It's like boom.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know, the truth is that is what I believe to be that fundamental truth of the power of surrender. Like, if I can surrender my reaction to your action, and just continue emanating from my serenity, love, and forgiveness and acceptance, then aren't we just winning all the time? Like, you know, ooh, serenity, come to me. You know, like, it's just like, I want to swing from the tree of serenity, you know, rather than wade through the muck of anger.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like, I just like, when you ask that question, my instant thought is this. It's like, it goes from like say it again. I'm going to like, watch.
So forgiveness is the sweetest revenge.
And then it's like,
what are your thoughts on that?
It goes from heavy to like light. Like not carrying that forgiveness is a lightness. It's like a lightness, like when you meet someone that you're in love with, and you're like, whoa, holy shit, today's a brighter day. I can't wait to go out to dinner. And that morning you were like, man, I don't even want breakfast. But, but forgiveness is the same thing. When it's actually just like you release that negative part, it's one of the things that guy talks about in that untethered soul and living untethered, and that he talks about it like how we cover ourselves up and block our own energy with things, right? And even if you think it's protection, when you block your energy, you still are flowing with less energy no matter what, so even if it's like, oh, I'm protecting myself, it's still a little part of your heart that doesn't get to shine through because you put a little patch on it called protection. And and to be able to ascend above hurting ourselves with our own protection. Like it's us who gets hurt because we've been changed by the asshole. We might not become assholes, but we could become asshole patched. So we're still wearing a little bit of asshole somewhere. Anyway, I love this question. That was a great one, Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. And that's how, man, that's how I love how organic and how freeing this whole process is, guys. Is as we're like going through this podcast and as we go through this thing and we're closing out, man, things just come to me, and this is therapy for us. We hit it at the beginning. I was kind of going through these quotes, and then I saw that one and I knew that was going to hit different, but yeah, man, it's so beautiful, right? There's no argument when you forgive, right? Forgiveness is it. Look, I started thinking about what you were saying, Milan. Forgiveness equals surrender. Yeah. Forgiveness is surrender. If you can forgive, you're surrendering, man. Like forgiveness is just as beautiful as surrendering, right? It's just a different spin on it. It's more of a specific spin on it, but that is the ultimate surrender. There's no argument. There's no argument at the end. We're like, hey, I did the mic drop. No, I did the mic. No. There's no argument on either side, man. When you truly forgive somebody, especially when you're enemies, bro, to err. Look, I saw there's a couple other quotes around that, right? So to forgive is to set free a prisoner, and to discover that prisoner was you.
Yeah.
Boom. It's done. True. Look, it's one of those things that, and I have one that ties it in with love that I'm going to finish on. But look, always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them more. I saw that. And to err is human, to forgive is divine. And here's the one that'll hit with me, because I don't know if you know, Mr. Iceman, but love and humility are my two things, man. Love is my thing. I am the love. You didn't say Capitano Surrendero, but yeah, /Lovero. Because I'm all about some love, man. I got a super soaker full of it, and it doesn't run dry, man. But forgiveness is the final form of love.
I agree with that.
I'm done. Can I go home? Can I go home? No, think about that. It's the final form of love, man. Forgiveness. Forgive somebody. I love you. If I can forgive you, I love you. If for no other reason than you survived the same near-death catastrophe I did, as my literature tells me, right? I'm cool with it. I'm gonna love you too.
Yeah, it's great. It's really powerful, man.
Look, just try it out. Try this thing. Please, look, if you come in here and you start practicing some of these things that we talk about in these podcasts and stuff, man, and you don't like what's going on with your life, and in a year or 6 months you're not in a better place, I will refund you your misery. All of us will. We will refund you that misery, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. This is a beautiful thing, man. Work these steps, dude. Work the steps. Please learn who you are. Steps are the keys to freedom. They should have said, that was the other term they came up with, the steps. They call them steps. They should have said, these are the keys to freedom. We wouldn't have done them if they would have said that, hey, we need you to work the keys to freedom. As an addict, we would have been like, fuck this, fuck that.
I would have been like, man, steps. I love having a good set of llaves.
But like, we're just not apt to going towards that positive shit. They call them steps. It was kind of like one of those things they tricked us into working them. By the time we got clean, we're like, all right, we're doing the steps, not keys to freedom. Like from the beginning, it's be like a stupid thing to try to do. I don't know. We're addicts.
It'd be a good name of a group though.
Yes.
The Keys to Freedom.
Keys to freedom.
Keys to freedom.
Oh man, that's funny. Yep. All right, so
okay, you got another question there, Mr. Ice?
I do, man. I do. It's Ice. I just asked the question. That's how crazy we are.
What day are we on?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I didn't even realize Capitano until just now. That's amazing. It's always good. So the question I have, so what is the difference now compared to before you got clean or sober when you were offended? What would you say stands out the most as how you navigate those situations or how you digest that sort of perception of harm in your life now compared to before?
Well, before it was like resentment stacked on a resentment with my part being nothing, and then before I would have been like throwing a pity party, inviting a whole lot of booze and drugs to it, and lacquering that up with more fuzziness in my water, so that I never looked at every situation trying to find my part in it ever in my life until this program. So I mean, like just that before, like that's like, oh shit, I play a part in all this. Like literally every discomfort in my life is from something, and I feel like I was, I had a good session with my sponsor last night, and part of it, I feel like I was not being grateful enough to the universe for what I had, and what it was creating was, like almost like an inborn resentment for me, for what I didn't have. Because I like, I've wanted kind of peace of mind in this area of my life for so long now. Like I'm getting exhausted by it. Again, I'm getting exhausted, and I try to surrender, and I realized last night it was like, for me, I had stopped giving gratitude for that part of that thing that I did have in my life, and that it was like, it just like, whoa, like I was totally on the wrong path. Like I had lost my way because I was like, man, I'm doing all this stuff, man. Why can't I just, get one little break, please? Like totally in self-will on that. But like also though, it was like I wasn't coming from a place of gratitude. So how could I expect anything more from the universe when I wasn't even thankful for what it gave me already?
That's well said.
And you know what? I know that that's probably off the topic of the question, but that just came up in my brain.
Who cares?
That's my answer. Who cares? That's good. That's good.
Oh, yeah. That's what this thing's about.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take that question.
I see that as like an awareness because of what the question was, of something that you've recently realized has been a gem.
Yes.
A hidden gem.
Yes. I love this topic, man.
Yeah. So the question was like, what's the difference for you now compared to before? If new hopefully it doesn't turn into a resentment, but when somebody offends or harms you, or you perceive that someone's wronged you now, what are some of the things that you do differently now than before?
Yeah. Obviously y'all hit on it a lot. I can take a step back and see my part in it before I move forward in it. But it's kind of it's crazy, man. I'm able to forgive on a whole nother level. Like the strange thing is, well, forgiveness itself is strange, right? Forgiveness, just that forgiveness part is strange. And it's sometimes easier to forgive my enemies now. than my friends. Think about that.
That makes
Like,
sense.
It's really hard to forgive one of your friends when they've done something wrong to you and you admire them.
Yeah.
Right.
You have an expectation of character.
Bro, there's already
Like,
set
that's
expectations.
really hard to not do.
It's almost born in, maybe you grew up with this guy or gal, right? You grew up with them from diapers or whatever. You've been through hell with them. And it's very, very hard to be like, to either A, forgive them, or B, try to ask for healthy forgiveness from them in a way. If they're just not where you're at, man. If they're not where you're at. But your enemies, at least, a lot of times your enemies tend to be in that same battlefield as you, at least. Sometimes your friends will be online and you're actually in the battlefield, right? They're just in different spots. But at least our enemies that we run into, at least in these rooms, tend to be in the same battlefield as us. So we can at least process that as, hey, if they're just a Hollywood square on Zoom or whatever, we can do it without having to be in front of them. Who knows where our brain goes with that? But forgiving my enemies seemed to be, as I've done some work on myself, which is a beautiful thing, guys. Like, I can forgive my enemies. Like, I was shooting my enemies, back in the day. I want to kill them back in the day. I hated my enemies. Now I'm like wanting to forgive them and pray for them. Bro, I pray for my enemies today, man. And that right there, and we've talked about it a few times, Bryant, that when you can pray, so one of the most unconditionally loving things you can do for yourself is pray for yourself. Mm-hmm. And so one of the most unconditionally loving acts you can do for somebody else, whether you think you can outwardly portray love or not, is to pray for somebody.
It's amazing.
And then when something happens good to that person, especially like an enemy or someone you don't particularly like, and you pray for them and something good happens to them and you don't tell anybody about it, bro, that's a life-changing experience, man. It's a life-changing experience. And I wouldn't have that if I wasn't able to forgive. And that's not really about forgiving and forgetting. It's about forgetting and remembering the good shit. We've got to spin this thing positive, man. We've been spinning it so negative for so long. I'll keep it on me. I just was a negative ass person because everything I was doing was wrong, man. I'm doing the right shit now. I got to spin it the right way. I got to lean into the good shit today. Accept things as they are and act. If I got to forgive somebody or ask for forgiveness, or at least stand on something so I'm not internally beating myself down, I'm gonna stand on it, man. I'm gonna step process my way through it and know I'm gonna be spiritually tapped into the God of my understanding, right? And as long as I'm staying clean just for today in my Just for Today program, man, I'm okay. I'm doing all right.
Well said.
Thank you. All right, man, I'll pass it to you.
Mr. Ice, you can answer your own question.
Yeah, this is sort of, I don't know why, but I have to share this. So I'm in Ontario now, and my first sponsor, he's here. I ended up living in BC for the last 9 years, but we got in touch. I've seen him out and about, meetings, whatnot, and spoke to him the other day. And I don't know why, I just had this like almost fear to talk to him because he was he came for it, and he was perfectly hard on me, but it was a lot. And like, I was like, I don't know if I want to let this guy back into my life. Like I was like, I don't know if I need this kind of pressure right now.
Oh yeah, you do.
That's her disease.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but the cool thing is, so in that first year, one of the first tragedies that happened to me when I was sober was I locked my keys in the house, and it was like $700 because it was like New Year's Day. It was overtime plus holiday pay, plus it was an expensive lock. Yeah, I was on my way to work, and I just like went out the garage and locked the keys in, and I was so upset with myself. It was like almost $1,000 for this key. See how I just did that? I added $300.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. That's like getting the ambulance called to your house in America. It's like $1,000, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, anyway, so I told him about my most recent tragedy, that Trump's keys in the house by about $1 trillion. And the point of the story is, when I told him about the keys in the house, he said, "Did you drink?" And I was like, "No." And he was just like, "Then you did a great job today." And then when I told him about what happened, million times harder than the key thing, he was like, "Did you drink?" And I was like, "I haven't drank." And he was just like, "You're doing pretty well then." And I was just like, and it ended up being this like beautiful conversation. He didn't put any pressure on me, and I needed to have that chat with him. And he said, he's like, "That's what this is all about." He's like, for you to be able to navigate what you're going through right now and not self-destruct or hurt someone else or hurt yourself, he's like, he's like, I know you wish this didn't happen, but the fact is, it's how you're handling it, you know? And boom. And so, what was the question I asked you guys?
You know what?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it was the difference between then and now. I forgive myself a lot faster now, and I forgive others a lot faster now. The other thing too is one of the main things that I've noticed is that, yeah, the my part thing is really beautiful because it helps me untangle how I got here. I'm like, what's going on and what did I contribute to this? And if I can see my part, do something about it, hopefully I will. But even better, I can see what I didn't do to contribute to it and then forgive myself, release myself, and understand that like I'm still living in a world with a lot of people that don't have a solution to their problems. And some of those people could be the people I share a bed with, or like somebody that gave birth to me, like people that are really important to me that don't have a solution, and they still are taking some heavy hits at the old baseball diamond. Like we're talking home runs out of the park. And somehow it seems like they're aiming the bat at me sometimes. But I think the simple fact is it's a lack thereof a spiritual solution to their own pain. And I'm not just saying like, oh, you guys don't have a solution, but what I'm trying to say is you might not do that to someone else if you were living a little more in alignment with what we're talking about today. Am I still capable of harming people? Yes, I would never suggest that I'm not, but I can see the difference now, whereas before I took everything so personally. Like it wasn't even a thing about what this person's going through or the fact that they didn't have a spiritual solution. I was just like, how could you possibly do this to me? Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
me, man.
Yeah. And so to depersonalize things would be the most significant change, but it's not easy.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. And it takes practice too. You got to keep up with that too.
Yeah.
God, I love that story with your sponsor. You know, it's kind of like mine. Like if I ever go to him with any questions, he's like, "Did you pray about it?"
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
Mine
He's
too.
like,
Did you pray for him?
he's
Did you
like,
pray about it?
he's like, we ain't even getting there.
Hey, then he goes, Andrew, how fucking free do you want to be? And I go, fuck, I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna cut you.
Well, I would like to be as free as the
He's
level
like,
of
bro.
my solution.
He's like, why did you even call me? That's the thing. I'll think process my way through it, and then I'll pray before I call him, and I don't have to call him anymore. It's crazy, but we're addicts, you know. We just gotta back up a little bit.
Nice.
Well said.
Okay, so which one do I want to do? Okay. Self-acceptance changes over time. We learn to live with our frailties and imperfections. We find that the defects we accept and forgive are more likely to be removed than those we fight against and try to control. How has surrender brought self-acceptance and forgiveness to yourself, Capitano Sorrentero?
I mean, it's really everything we've been talking about, man. I mean, being able to forgive is love, man. It's the final form of love. It's the final form of love. So I've got to translate that into knowing that I'm a loving person, that I do love myself. I love other people. And it's not because I'm fucking, you know, excuse my language, man. I keep cussing and I do that all the time. I'm sorry, Bryant, man, if you don't like that shit, man. I'm sorry. But yeah, so I gotta love myself, man, before I'm not gonna come in here. I say this a lot, Bryant. This is the most dangerous spectator sport in the world.
No question.
You know what I mean? You're not going to sit back in the back of these rooms and like duck and dodge the readings and like not look at people and think that this is going to rub off on you. You're going to do more harm than good in that case. And you can do that on these Zoom meetings really well, right? You know, in an in-person meeting, not so much. You know, they'll come rack you out of bed, hopefully, at an in-person meeting. But not, you know, in a Zoom meeting, you know. And I'm just saying that as advice. You know, get in there and get your feet wet. You know, get in service. Service work will help you love yourself. It's something I threw myself into, and I was able to get uncomfortable in a somewhat of a controlled setting, and it made me get confidence and gain confidence, which is not I'm the shit. It's just knowing I can figure it out. Right? I've been through hell. Yeah. I've been through hell. I can figure it out. If not, I'm gonna not be so down on myself for making a mistake or not getting through that thing. I'm gonna understand that, hey, I got a God of my understanding, and He doesn't have that in store for me if it didn't work out. He's got something else in store for me on the other side of it. So yeah, man, it's really about that self-forgiveness. It's 90% of self-forgiveness, because then the rest of it comes outwards once you forgive yourself. It's a freeing thing. It's such a freeing process to be able to forgive. And then to either forget or to remember as needed, and how to store that properly, like in that brain where, when I was in active addiction, my brain, I equated to like that junkie man's garage, where like you can't find everything's just thrown out in the garage. You can't even get into the door because there's just shit thrown everywhere and you don't know where anything is. Well, if that gentleman were to take, and Andy can't fit his car out there. If that gentleman were to take all that stuff out and organize it, throw away the trash, put them in bins, label everything, and store it properly. I put that in my brain now in recovery. That's what I've done, is I've organized everything and I put it in bins, and I can store twice as much stuff in my brain now. And I can park my car and I can walk around and find out where all that stuff is. Because in active addiction, man, my brain was mud, man. My brain was, and then coming out of it, I didn't, as they're reading these traditions and how it works, like I'm not really able to even read or to retain information, because I'm just in this fog, right? Like I didn't know what was going on. I almost needed it to be structured, because if not, my brain was going to go off into never land, man. I wasn't going to be able to find it anymore. And so, man, this whole thing is the way it is, man. This book. All right, look, don't come into a 12-step program and not A, read the literature, and B, work the 12 steps of that program. What are you doing? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like if you're just here to hang out with people, this is not a social club.
No.
This is not a social club, right? Like, and I thought it was a cult. I thought y'all were tricking me out. That was a cult. And actually, I was okay with it when I got here. I was like, if it's going to keep me clean, I'm okay with it. Because obviously something else has to give here, man. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm trying to create my own cult out here. I'm going to give in. But it's not. It's just what you make it. And again, I don't have to have $1 in my pocket. This is the only disease we can talk ourselves out of, Bryant. We don't need drugs to get off drugs. This is the only disease that A, has us flat out convinced that we don't have it. So we're not stupid people. And it's not a moral deficiency, as it tells me. So I'm not an asshole. Give yourself a break. It's the drugs, it's the drugs killing us, but the drugs aren't the problem. We are. That's what I've realized. I'm the problem. My character defects are coming out in ways that I don't even know the avenues that they're coming out in, let alone the actual defect itself. But I'm able to realize it and to reel it in and work on it every time. There's nothing else left out there, man. So, yeah, that's my answer. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tantrum.
Woo-wee.
Oh, that was great.
Okay, Mr. B-Dubs. Self-acceptance changes over time. We learn to live with our frailties and imperfections. We find that the defects we accept and forgive are more likely to be removed than those we fight against and try to control. How has surrender brought self-acceptance and forgiveness to yourself?
So I had this little thing that happened to me. I kind of traced my steps back to where what you might consider like my life was sort of pre-planned for me, and then where I started making decisions more independently of a life that had been like set out for me. So what happened was I realized I didn't choose my parents. I didn't choose what school I went to. Which meant those were the people that I got to know who were my friends. So like there was all these details of my life and variables that had affected me so deeply and contributed to who I kind of perceive myself to be. And when I realized that so many things that like kind of were a part of how I became who I was, and how many of those things were completely out of my hands, I kind of started to see that whole thing about powerlessness over people, places, and things. And when I realized by the time that I was self-destructing and making poor decisions, my entire sense of self was lacking a good foundation, which meant I was easily influenced. I was easily susceptible to, doing things to try to fit in and all these other things, which I think is you have to cut yourself some slack. It's like very normal to want to fit in. It's normal to like want to try things like I went from bringing my baseball glove to school to smoking reefer and like all this other stuff. Within 3 months, I was like this innocent singing in the choir, baseball glove, trying out for school teams, to like just wanting to fit in and doing all sorts of stupid shit. And it just went from there. So I bring up that whole kind of piece because I had very little to do with who I like, the things that had so much influence on me, until I was already so easily influenced and started making really bad decisions for myself. So what I did when I became aware of my tendencies and my like bad habits was I chose to forgive myself, because so much of that had been kind of like just sort of mapped out for me. And then I was already acting out of defects by the time I was creating shame and guilt in my life and potentially harming other people. So by the time I was ready to take a look at this, which was like roughly 15 years after I began that kind of stuff, I sort of just tried to have compassion for myself. And then the next best thing I could do is try to not do it anymore. So I forgave myself, became aware of how I became the way I was. I came to terms with the fact that I live with a mental and physical allergy to a substance that I can no longer take if I have any respect for myself or hope for the future. And then I tried to no longer repeat those same bad habits and things that were creating shame in my life. And that's sort of how that happened for me.
Nice.
That was dope.
I love that. Okie dokie. So, how has surrender brought self-acceptance and forgiveness to myself? Even in the face of like this amazing fact of my sobriety and surrender having swept my life into like a whole different path. I mean, here I am, 18 months straight, happy, 12 months, no cigarettes,
Congratulations, by the way, bro.
and
Yeah.
if that's not proof in the pudding that surrender is a pretty powerful tool, I don't know what is. Because man, like I'm telling you right now, like tobacco has been the hardest addiction of my whole life.
Oh, absolutely.
And looking at that battle and that, and then I'm like trying to cure my anger myself. And it's like, no, I'm not actually reading the steps correctly. I'm like, willing to turn everything over, but I got this one, God. Like this one's mine. Don't you? I could see you're busy with a little universal mechanics. How about I work on anger? And guess what? Milan was failing miserably, and it's just like trying to create myself and put myself into a more serene state and surrender is really the direction that I'm trying to go in now. And I know for anybody out there, oh yeah, so you're just gonna magically get serenity. No, I'm not. But you know what? Like if I sleep better, if I eat better, if I exercise more, if I meditate more, if I pray more, and and I just keep practicing, I'm getting a bit better all the time at all this shit. And I'm getting better because I'm not trying to be the string puller as much. And when I catch myself, I'm trying to let that go. So, that's partly, me having self-acceptance that I'm not powerful enough to pull this off alone.
Harry God.
Man, that hairy God box is like a hairy God scent. Like I ain't putting my fingers in the box to see what papers I've already thrown away. Because there's some in there where I'm like, I don't ever want to see that again. That's just like an embarrassing moment of resentment. Like I'm like, man, somebody's gonna look through this box and be like, he's one petty motherfucker. Like, and that's okay because you know what? I've letting it gone. So like, it's what I'm trying to do and it's where I'm trying to go. And then for forgiveness, like, man, forgiveness for myself is an ongoing battle all the time because part of my disease damaged my brain or it's given me real selective memory. And I go from periods of not being able to remember anything to like driving along, seeing one tree, remembering an event and being like super self-loathing in like 5 seconds of like, fuck, I did that. Oh my God. Like, I, you know, and then it's like somebody that I haven't seen in years, and I'm just like, I'm like, am I gonna try to contact them through Facebook for an amends, you know, or something? Well, because like that's the only way I'm gonna track them down, you know, like really, like there's some people from like 30 years ago where I'm like, that was pretty shitty thing. And
Maybe
then
they'll forget it. Maybe they'll forget.
maybe
But
they're as dumb
God
as
don't.
me. Maybe they're as
God
dumb as
doesn't.
me. I know, but
No,
that's it. And so,
it's
you know,
recorded.
the forgiveness is a work in progress, man. It's not all there. I haven't forgiven myself for everything. This might like that would be a flat out lie for me right now to say that I'm okay with everything I did because I've done my amends and I'm clear. I'm not clear of everything yet. But that's why I continue to work on the steps and I continue to do service and I continue things like this where I learn different things from other amazing brothers in recovery and sisters out there. You know, I know you're out there somewhere, Brandy, and I wasn't dissing you by not saying brothers. I know how free do you want to be there, Friedel. Anyway, I'm gonna leave that one there, and yeah,
Freedom.
that's right. Andrew, you got another question?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So is forgiveness about forgetting? So only is forgetting a requirement? If so, how so? And if not, how so to you?
Is this me?
Well, you
Yes.
are the ice.
Yes. He was frozen in
He's
time.
he's got a slippery
Capitano,
frozen pond of an answer here.
I'm gonna have to ask you to repeat that question.
Is forgiveness about forgetting something, and is it a requirement? If so, how do you feel that way? If not, why do you feel that way?
I think you're better off if you've done a genuine forgiveness to stop thinking about it. And if that could be considered forgetting, then fine. But I don't know. I've always heard that like you can forgive, but you don't have to forget. But like
Mm-hmm.
I think that we do have to kind of get on with things though. But um don't diminish what people have done if it has been genuinely harmful. Like if a lot of the time too, like I've had people be like, "Oh, you're being too easy on that person," or like it's okay to actually feel the way you feel. You know, when you talked about validation earlier, Capitano, you said you validate your feelings, and it's like I think we do need to validate when things are done to us. It's very easy to be like, oh, it's no big deal, but like maybe it's okay to honor the fact that you have been hurt by somebody or something, and then choose to forgive. That means that it's natural and it's in you're in the direction of harmony. You're trying to reconcile back to a state that is uninjured, which is self-love, and then hopefully you can forget. I don't know. I don't want to replay this stuff over and over again. That's what a resentment is. You're replaying something that happened. Like, oh my gosh. So I'll quickly share a really fun. This is a good story. So another older fellow that I have looked up to, that I became friends with through this process. He was talking about how he had lived with a girl, and they had. I think it was when like a flat screen TV was like pretty badass, and it was like new, and they had this flat screen, and when they broke up, she took it or like didn't come back into the house or something. And I think he had like a 17-year resentment over this flat screen TV. And one time, I guess he either bumped into someone, an old friend, or her mother or something. And her name came up, and he was informed that this girl had actually passed away like 5 or 6 years earlier. And this guy was still burnt up about the flat screen TV. And this old girlfriend didn't even exist anymore. So he's still upset about a TV.
Wow.
She's passed away. And
Damn,
so
that's crazy.
and yeah, but this is a cool thing to hear, even though it's kind of sad. It's like that's how wild this stuff is. You know what I mean? Like life has carried on, and you're still burnt up about something that really isn't has nothing to do with what's going on in your current day. You know what I mean? So I don't know, stuff like that I'm like, I don't want to be holding grudges like down the road like that. You know what I mean?
I don't want a backpack full of shit like that when I'm old. Just be sitting in the chair going, flat screen, guy stole my tire, lawnmower.
Spitting tobacco in a cup.
Yeah.
No, I'm done with tobacco. I'm done with tobacco.
No, you know what I mean.
I know,
I'm just putting a spin on it, man. All right, I'm gonna ask you, Milan.
Okay.
Is forgiveness about forgetting something? Is it a requirement? If not, tell us why you think that way. If so, tell us why you think that way.
I don't think it is a requirement. Forgetting is a requirement at all of forgiveness. I do believe, like, like Rosa Metzler would say, the wise Rosa, that, everybody's a culmination of their life experiences. Because I forgive you and I've let go of something, then that's no longer rotting me from the inside out. But as I step forward as an adult in my life, I certainly can learn from that experience I don't want repeated. I think of examples of when I was not, in that abusive relationship when I was younger. Like that certainly taught me what I don't want in my life and what I won't allow into my relationships again. Even when I wasn't thinking about her at all, it was like, boom, something would happen, like with a girl I was meeting, and I was like, okay, I don't want that. I don't want that because I know that that's like the precursor from it being like a little thing like this to like all of a sudden like that, and then all of a sudden I'm getting yelled at and swung at, and it's like, and that end result is like avoid at all cost. It's like I don't put two wheels over a cliff to see if the car still balances. Like, I'm not like a cartoon or Velma and Louise. Like, I'm just like, I'm pretty good with knowing that if I go over that cliff, I'm falling down again. and it's like that with forgiveness. Like there's lots even inside recovery where I'm like, okay, so that's that's mental note. Don't do that again, and don't carry it. Like there's. I think that there's just like certain personality traits that that I love, and certain personality traits that don't make me feel comfortable. And once I kind of start to assess people beyond their surface representation to me, then I kind of assess whether I want them in my life more or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's sick. I love you.
And I believe people have the capacity to change, but I don't want you to change for me. Ever. Like never, ever, because you're just going to resent the shit out of me, and then the devil's still going to be hiding behind your eyes somewhere.
That's a great point. That's a great point. We can say we forgive all day, man, but it's about the action we put behind it, And the more and more I think about this forgiveness piece, guys, it's really ties right in with surrender. Forgiveness is surrender. Forgiveness is love. Love and surrender are pretty two damn important things we have going on here. And so I'm really, as we do, that's why I love this podcast, because I have a whole page or two just of notes that I've taken either for the podcast myself or from y'all's talking this time. So I've actually started thinking about, I'm going to take these notes and I'm going to have like this master like copy of these notes. I have like forgiveness, awareness from the other day, like all these other things that we do. This is helping me learn and grow.
What was the name of the group again? The keys to forgiveness?
The keys
to freedom.
Keys to freedom.
Yes.
I think you should write a book called that.
Oh my God, man. I'm going to get y'all as references. We're going to get everybody involved. We're going to get the whole
just be a little pocketbook, like a daily reflection.
Yes. Yeah. Look, we could do it. I love it. So man, forgiveness is it's not so much about forgetting it. It is, yes, there's going to be some things that we have to forget, but it's really more, it's more of about, not really downplaying the harm that's caused, but it's about releasing that associated negative feeling on it, right? In the emotions, acceptance. And it's how we release it. Are we going to release it into a pool of like, hey, we need to revisit it later? And is it negative? Is it positive? That's why staying in this thing, staying going to meetings, staying doing your step work, even if you finish around a step, start on the next round, having a sponsor, calling us on our bullshit, right? It's not about co-signing our bullshit today, Bryant. It's about keeping us alive. So as all this stuff comes, you'll be able to think process your way through that forgiveness thing, that piece, right? As the forgiveness comes, we're going to process it in a healthy way, because it's kind of like a body that at rest stays at rest, a body in motion stays in motion. Well, if we're continuing to stay on that positive track, doing positive things, esteemable things, goodwill, right? Doing the right thing when nobody, regardless of who's looking, because God's always looking, man. God's always watching. And so all that stuff culminates to us making good decisions. And part of that is forgiving people, places, things, whatever that we feel has harmed us. And a lot of times it's just our own thinking, that stinking thinking, if you will, that gets us into, do we need to forgive them? A lot of times it's just us being us. It's to us. It's just us. Like we're self-sabotagers, man. I'm a king procrastinator into like, ain't doing it. You can't find me for a week. Like it doesn't even take any time. It's just you. Like he was just at the Christmas party. Now he's under a like, what the fuck is going on, man? Like, what's wrong with that guy, right? I say this a lot. We were in active addiction, Bryant. We sit in these meetings, and when they say there's 30 people there, if I was in active addiction, bro, I would sneakily have every single one of their numbers, be calling every single one of them. I wouldn't even need a phone. I'd get in touch with them and find out a way to get drugs from them. I'm sitting in these meetings now. I got 2 phones. Right? I got a work phone. I got a regular phone. Most of us have at least more than one device. And I want a tablet. I want to complain about picking the phone up now when I'm in a room full of hope dealers and not dope dealers, right? And I want to complain that I can't call you when I want to get out of my own head. What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? So it's all mental. It's all mental. It's in the mind, bro. It's all your mind, right? This is an allergy of it's an obsession of the mind and an allergy of the body. Have you ever heard that? And what we're doing is we're trying to connect those two, and it's like oil and water, right? It's like they really don't ever want to hang out in the same building. And so for what recovery does is it mends the two, man. It brings some kind of agent that will bring them to a harmony, a spot of harmony, right? And cohesiveness. We talked about it the other day on the other podcast, so I'll keep it short and sweet with that, man. Look, forgiveness is the end form of love, the final form of love. So I'm gonna be on that forgiveness thing for a while. And surrender, man. Surrender. Come on, it's surrender. I love it. Love you, man. Love you. Love both of y'all. This was cool.
Okay, B-dubs, you got to answer this one.
Oh, what was it?
It was your question.
Oh, no,
Wasn't
it was
it?
my question. No, it was my question. So, is it his question?
It's my question?
Oh, I don't know. Whose question was it? Mine?
Oh, I just answered my question. So now it's Iceman's turn to either.
Iceman's turn to ask a question.
I don't have so much longer. I got room for another question.
Okay, one more question. And do we need to do it as fire round?
5 minutes a piece.
Okay, I'll put on the 5. We'll call it a rolling thunder round instead of a lightning round.
With the Iceman and the Capitano.
Here we go.
And Frankie
forgiveness.
Frankie.
Come on.
Double F.
Double F. Fiery Frankie forgiveness. Oh, Lordy.
Well, it just kind of came to mind. I have a couple things written down, but I think without forgiveness of self and other, you basically are disturbing the connection between you and the higher power. And what do you think about that?
Okay. Well, first of all, for me, my higher power really is that entire universal energy. And so if we go back to the stillness of that water analogy, right? If I'm like turbidly thinking about myself, first of all, I don't really know who I am right now if I'm just looking at myself through my old actions, right? And also, then I'm not going to be treating myself like I want to be for my new, for who I want to become. So I would say that, that lack of clarity, that the lack of forgiveness creates is absolutely going to be putting you either in future expectations or, resentments of the past. And but all three of us here know that we don't contact our higher power through yesterday's actions or tomorrow. It's right now. So we're inevitably robbing ourselves of the present moment if we are not forgiving ourselves or others. We've got shame, guilt, resentment, expectations. All these things are going to pull us out of the present moment. So there's absolutely no way that I feel that we could be in conscious contact with our higher power. So, and ultimately, right, if we're like, progress towards perfection, trying to live a principled action, right? Well, the number one, we're literally not showing the principle of forgiveness. So, so we're living in our own will, and boom, I'm done. Okay, here we
Hell
go.
yeah. Ask me again, Mr. Iceman.
He's
I
like,
keep seeing ice, like just big ice, and I'm like, man, that guy, this is awesome.
Ice is good.
I've never said your first name enough or had enough dealings with you where I know your name like right off the top. I'm like Bryant, and then I'm like,
Yeah, you say it well.
Ice Bryant. I'm like, bah.
You can just call him Mr. Ice.
I love you, man. Love you.
Love you, brother. So I just sort of spontaneously came. I just thought about the fact that, like, in order to have a good connection with your higher power, you want as little disturbance as possible. Would you say that lack of self-forgiveness and forgiveness of others gets in the way of you having that conscious contact with your higher power?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'll roll off of what Milan said, because that conscious contact, right? If I'm not present in the moment, I'm not consciously contacted to what made this thing go on, and then I can get focused on those differences, not the similarities, right? If I'm not consciously connected, I'm gonna be harboring off into the wrong place, right? Because as soon as I start getting ungrateful, right? A grateful act doesn't use as soon as I start finding myself in a hairy position, like I realize I've kind of taken some of my self-will back. And as soon as I do that, man, I pray that shit right back to him, man. I'll say this a lot. Like, I wake up every morning and I thank God for waking me up when he saw fit, right? And let me go to sleep the night before when he saw fit. And thank you for giving me that self-will back, like on a plate of scrambled eggs and toast, because you're testing me, right? But here, take this shit back, man. I'll go find my own breakfast. I don't need any self-will. Don't try to trick me this morning, God. Like, I don't need this self-will. I have no idea what to do with it. And I've shown that over a long period of time. So, and y'all hit on this too. This is a process, not a state. This is not a ending spot here. This forgiveness piece is a process that will not end. It's kind of like the recovery process, kind of like the disease. It's a never ending thing. So we got to stay, this is a progressive disease, but this is also a progressive recovery here that we can work to. And it has to be in my case. Has to be.
I love that.
Has to be, right? So it's a process. It's not a state. We're not going to ever reach true forgiveness, right? Just like you really can't ever reach true recovery or true love. Like, we're going to always be working on this thing. The moment we have it figured out, Mr. Bryant, we're done. We're done. Right. And so what it has also allowed me to do as I'm connected is I can focus on the forgiver, right? It's never, forgiveness is primarily about the emotional and mental well-being of the person who's been wrong, not really the person who's doing the wronging. Now, that a lot of cases is me, right? That's where we talk about having to forgive ourselves, right? And then but that's where we have to be able to differentiate where that's coming from, if it's coming from a healthy place, and what it is we're going to do on the back end of it to help maintain our sobriety and staying clean, and then B, maintaining our confidence as a person and going that upward trajectory. So that's my answer, man. It's short and sweet.
Love that.
That was great.
Okay. Now, B-dubs, ice storm.
Nice.
Boom, boom, boom.
Okay.
I feel the same way. I like that you talked about the confidence, the self-confidence, and that upward trajectory. For me, the conscious contact, like if I'm in the past, I'm not going to be able to utilize or access the faith now. I'll tell you, like, I made some fairly big decisions in the first year, and I'm kind of going through some stuff now that requires faith, and like not your average faith where you just hope like your day goes smoothly because you kind of have an idea of how your general day should go based on the preparedness and how you've sort of like been trying to achieve certain things. Like I'm in the buck naked zone right now.
Proactive faith.
Yeah.
You're butt naked. You got your blindfold on. You're hitting cars in the street. You're like,
Yeah.
I need some faith, man. I need faith.
Yeah. So I need that line to be as clear as possible. And I'll be frank, like the lack of forgiveness right now will not serve me well. So I'm working and praying for the capacity to do that. But I can say this new stuff. So I've had some beautiful experiences. Like I don't look back anymore. And like the final amend that I tried to make, which I think I shared this, I had an amend forgiveness trickle in 9 years later that I tried to, I planted a seed in my first year during my first set of steps, and the amend came full circle 9 years later without any provocation. The person said, no, it was the last one on my list, and it came in, and
beautiful.
It was amazing. It was so cool. It was like, and like, so I had already come to terms with that. I might not have a chance to actually have that, but they say, do your part, clean up your side. So I felt at least decent about that, enough that I could move forward, at least go on to do the rest of the steps. And so it's so cool that happened. So I don't think I'm going to wait 9 years to express forgiveness to my current circumstance, but it just goes to show sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. And I want to get anything that's getting in the way of my access to my higher power out of the way if I can. And if I live like that, I seem to have a little bit better faith, I think.
Bro, you got 9 years experience in that process right there. You processed your way through like how beautiful that was 9 years later, and you're not gonna ever let that shit happen again, right? You're gonna process your way into that immediately now, right? That's 9 years of like experience, and like you're gonna get 9 years of magic in a single hand now, knowing what you got to do to make that happen. Beautiful.
It's so cool.
Hey, did anybody tell you too that they love you guys today? I think I did.
You can say it again.
I did. I'm that kind of guy. Final comments,
Love you,
Andrew?
man.
We're Capitano Surrendero.
Love you guys, man. Yeah, man. Forgiveness is the final form of love. Forgiveness is the sweetest revenge. And to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that prisoner was you, man. To err is the human, to forgive is divine. The weak don't know how to forgive, man. Forgive is strength that equals surrender, man. Forgive somebody today.
Ooh. And Mr. Ice, you got anything cool to say?
I wonder how long it'll take before that loses its list.
Never.
I can go.
Never.
I can ride that one out. I can ride that like I'm sliding across the pond.
Hashtag never.
Well, I meant to ask earlier. There's a tree crew here, getting all the gnarly tree damage taken care of from the ice storm 2 weeks ago. So I was wondering if you could hear the chainsaws at one point.
You made that happen.
No? Okay, good.
You made that happen. though.
Yeah.
They're cleaning up your mess. They're cleaning up your mess, Iceman.
Well,
So,
I love you guys.
love
I
that.
want to say this was a great first
love
time
this
for the three of us
guy.
to be together. And maybe tune in next episode for more recovery fun. Catch you later, everybody. We love you. Please help us help others. If you like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.